Before we hit the red light, I have to be clear. We have some very distinguished guests today, so I'm asking, just for this session, let me keep the shenanigans to an absolute minimum.
Point of order, Eric. Does that include tomfoolery?
No, tomfoolery is permitted.
What about skylarking, or perhaps a light ballyhoo?
Ballyhoo is fine in moderation. Skylarking is encouraged. No shenanigans. Oh, and no foul language. I know we're all passionate about the industry, but...
What about horseplay? Is horseplay considered a shenanigan?
As long as it doesn't become an antic. Most of all, no foul language.
So you're saying you aren't going to say Godard is poopy and you hate him?
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Hey, dude, it's your catchphrase.
I guess the shenanigans have already started. Let's get this panel going before I say something even worse about Ken Russell. I'm Eric Trometer, and joining me today is a panel who has experience in the trenches of today's subject, film festivals.
I'm Erin Brown.
I'm Jennifer Trujillo. I'm the Senior Managing Director of Gilbert Baker Film Festival, which is a legacy film festival honoring Gilbert Baker, the creator of the original Rainbow Pride flag, and connecting a global community of film lovers and filmmakers, and celebrating, amplifying our stories on screen, and celebrating Pride worldwide.
I'm Laura Petrie from Paducah, Kentucky. I am the founder and producer of Systers Film Festival. It's the only all-lesbian film festival in the United States, and one of only a few in the whole world. We are getting ready to have our 10th anniversary coming up this Memorial Day this month, May 21st through the 24th. Y'all come, help us celebrate 10 years of lesbian visions and voices.
I am krissy Mahan. I'm an independent filmmaker.
My name is Joshua R. Pangborn. I am the founder of SideKick Productions, a queer, fat-positive production company based out of Queens, New York.
My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. We've been around for 39 years.
I'm Luke Higginson. I'm the writer-director of Relax, I'm from the Future.
And I am Susan Gorrell, Executive Director of the Julien Dubuque International Film Festival that just celebrated 15 years. And this is World Cinema History.
Thank you. Susan, you just got finished with the 15th running of the Julien Dubuque International Film Festival. Give us a few of your reflections on the industry as it stands.
Well, from my perspective, I think it's, in the independent world, I think it's doing very well. I think film festivals give a great platform for filmmakers. That festival is worthy and does a really good job of making this about great product that's out there and giving filmmakers an opportunity to meet other people. You're done?
That's enough report building. I will not let your Midwest pleasantries obscure our mission here, which is to moan and gripe about the industry. Your positivity will not stand. From 20,000 submissions to the premiere paradox, we're asking the hard questions today. Is the film festival still a circuit for the filmmaker? Susan, you've seen this from the inside at JDIFF. When the volume hits 1,300 or more, how do 75 to 100 screeners maintain a human standard? How do we stop curation from becoming a mechanical filter for technical specs?
Well, we do ours a little different. We do have about 100 screeners in 3 different teams. So all the films that come in, I review them all, and then I send them to the teams where the 10 people have to watch and score based on, lighting, plot, writing. And then when those scores are all brought in, then I re-look over and make sure that the program got a little bit of everything. It doesn't matter if you're a friend of the fest or if you're alumni. It's all done by the same scoring system. So I think trying to be as fair as possible for those people that are submitting. I mean, for us, we'll get to a limit. We'll actually cap it. Probably about 2,000 is about the highest I will go for accepting submissions. And we'll just cap it at that because then it's just too much. When you start getting more than that, you can't watch them and your teams can't watch it. And so there's where I think it becomes an unfair system.
And a lot of festivals are now moving to AI to scan for things like audio and video quality or lighting in order to prejudge submissions. And it is an interesting paradox that first 5 minutes of every film now becomes so vitally important to whether or not it's going to succeed on the festival circuit.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of AI at all. And so, it puts people out of work and I want people to work. So I'm not a big fan of it. And I don't think films should be judged in the first 5 minutes. Sometimes a film starts off slow, but gets better as it moves along. And I think you have to give it a fair chance.
Jim, you balance Academy qualifying standards with the mission of uplifting marginalized voices in a climax obsessed with checking boxes. How do you keep the focus on the soul of the film?
Well, it all comes down to quality. We're very intentional with our programming team, very thoughtful on our programming team. We have a diverse group of programmers, diverse jurors. Quality is what we look for. It's really important to make all of our programming and all of our short films balanced. We want to make sure that we have a balance of gender, we have a balance of race, tone. We're making sure that we represent everybody's voice. And we just want to make sure that, everything that we show has that balance and make sure that it fits the community we serve.
Laura, you've said that your most important job is as a curator. What goes into curating for you, the picking and choosing for your festival, which is also, of course, one that has inclusion as its primary goal?
We're kind of different in that we're the only film festival in America that focuses on lesbian filmmakers' point of view. So we have a team of dedicated and really great jurors who will score the films, and then I'll take all those scores and program the festival based on that.
Now, I'd like to get our filmmakers in on this. Of course, our co-host, Erin, most of your knowledge from film festivals comes in entering them. You were joking before this episode that usually when you go to a film festival, it's because you know somebody who's nominated and you want to support them. But what are your thoughts on the market from that vantage point?
I make a film and I put it up there and I'm like, boy, I hope they understand this, because I have a weird sense of humor. And I actually did have a review from a festival saying, I don't understand what's supposed to be funny about this. And it's like, I can't help you there, buddy. That's just my sense of humor. You put something out there and you just hope for the best from where I'm at, because I'm such an amateur. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then when you've got friends there, it's fun to go and hang out with them and talk about film stuff with your friends. Maybe not the most nuanced opinion, but there's a lot of finger crossing and hoping for the best.
Krissy, from your vantage point, is a film festival something that works for you, since you don't really have a profit motive behind most of your films? Most of your films are to raise consciousness.
Yeah, I think that is the question. For someone like me who comes from a culture where people make what they like and they make it to the best of their ability based on the technologies that they have and the materials that they have. When my mom was making a cake, she used the best ingredients we could afford, and she made the best cake, and she made it as beautifully as she could. And she found satisfaction in that, and we all experienced, joy, in how fantastic that was. And so coming from that kind of a creative arts background, as I make films, I'm making them the best that I can, speaking to what I would like to say, and then sharing them with people who might find some, resonance. When I think about the festival circuit before the internet, I was making things before, I've been making movies for a long time. So the festival circuit used to be sort of an aggregator, right? So if you had a certain affinity or if you were interested in a topic, you would find a film festival that would share lots of content about the thing that you care about. And I think that model still makes sense. I think it's different now because people can see things relatively cheaply and relatively conveniently for the kind of body that they have. If they need to stay at home, or if they need, technologies to help them, experience the film. But I think that the film festival as a entity, it's like a mall in a way. Like, you can go and you can spend as much money as you want to there. And, there's lots of products on offer. But for me, as seeing the creative process as a point of human expression and human liberation, the film doesn't, at this point, because of the internet, film doesn't have to be experienced at a festival.
And I think Jennifer's use of the internet for the Gilbert Baker Film Festival has really shown light on how you can reach out. But there is something special about getting butts into seats. And I would like to highlight, not brown nosing, but Susan's contribution towards this, because, of course, when I went to the Dubuque Film Festival in, I'm going to say, 2016, there were maybe 600 people there, and I believe 7,500 people were there this year. What is your secret sauce, Susan?
That is correct. It has grown. And I think for me, film festivals, the reason I like the in person, I don't do it online, is because it's the chance for people to meet other people in their, in their same creative field. So I think a lot of people have seen that with us. There's been some collaborations that have happened from people that met at, I shorten it for JDIFF. So people made it JDIFF. They've collaborated and did projects later. Some people have found money. It's not a festival that you're necessarily going to have a distributor there to buy your film. It is mainly majority, like some filmmakers say, it's like a summer camp for filmmakers. And that to me is super important, because that human touch and communicating and sharing creative ideas with others that think alike, I think is even more important than trying to sell that film. Although that's where you can get your money, but that's very few and far between. Yeah, I think that's why it's grown. People know they really enjoy coming. The communication is really, really good. And we get a lot of comments on that. And it is a Midwest town. So when people come, the town itself is really supportive and loves the filmmaking world and meeting all these people from all over. So I think all of that combined has helped it to continue to grow.
There is something about seeing a film with an audience like that you can't recapture. Even with the rather low turnout that year, there was just something about being able to experience this with other cinemaphiles.
Yeah, I think that's the big piece about it. And, when you're sitting at home, how often, I think majority of people, how often would you actually choose to watch a foreign film? I probably wouldn't off of, one of the other streaming platforms. I probably wouldn't. However, when you're at a film festival, you're more apt to go with a lot of other people and sit and watch it and experience. And then in our case, a lot of the filmmakers are there. So then you get to hear from them and learn from them. And that's the biggest piece. And by the way, Eric, when you came, that was probably my second year as the ED. So it's definitely changed from there. I wish I didn't realize you had been at the festival. So that's pretty awesome.
We actually met. I believe you met everybody at that particular festival. When we met, you were literally walking down the street, shaking hands with every human being. Like, are you at the festival? Hi, I'm Susan.
That's about right. It's important. I want to know who's there. I remembered.
It was just a brief handshake. That was it. That was it. So there was nothing to remember.
Relating to what Susan was saying about, you get together and you get to see films that you wouldn't ordinarily see. One of the actors from my first film, Patrick, just ran into a guy at a Lowe's who was like, "Hey, weren't you in a movie?" And Patrick's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, the one in the radio station with the zombies." And so the guy had apparently gone to a festival where my film was showing and saw it and ran into Patrick later. It's kind of cool.
I never have people recognize my voice and go, "Hey, don't you host that podcast about foreign films?" Never, not once, believe it or not. Jennifer, how do you compensate for that lack of butts in the seat feeling? What are the things that you do to keep the group energy going on the internet?
I host over 200 hours of live virtual interactive events. So the same sort of scenario you'd have in the lobby at a film festival, or right after or before or after the film, with introductions, intro videos, and Q&As, networking events, things like that. We've had some industry panels. I'm literally on an open space for the festival. The festival is live and open at a minimum 20 hours once a week throughout the festival run, which is this year will be from June 12th through September 23rd. So it's well over 200 hours of times that I'm there and filmmakers are interacting. I wanted to point out two things. I think Joshua, our Pangborn, is here, and krissy Mahan. They've both participated in that world, and I think they've seen the value of the way that I'm trying to model this. And I did want to point out that Out on Film Atlanta is a gigantic festival, and I have been lucky enough to attend their virtual portion of their festival. They do an in-person festival and a virtual festival as well. That they have an incredible selection of films every year, and I look forward to getting to watch those films. as part of their virtual festival when I can't make it to Atlanta, which I haven't yet.
Let's
thank you.
go to Joshua real quick. Joshua, put your filmmaker hat on of your many hats. Do you feel like the curation process is fair for film festivals, or do you have the complaint that so many have that films are being judged by their first 5 minutes and people aren't actually watching the entire film? All of the things that Susan is working very hard right now to overcome there at JDIFF.
Honestly, I think that every film festival is different. I've been in many film festivals over the past decade plus years of being a filmmaker, and it's a different experience for me every time when I go to a new film festival because I don't know how people are going to react to what I make, because not only do I make queer stories, I make queer fat stories, and a lot of people are turned off by that concept. Fat phobia is in many ways the most acceptable of the phobias still out there, and it's complicated to be accepted in a film festival, I think, for someone who's doing queer fat stories in a way that other filmmakers aren't finding. I know a lot of times films that are really well received by audiences when they watch them aren't getting into festivals because of the very subject nature of what I create. That being said, the experiences that I have, I don't think it's so much the first 5 minutes. They're looking to see who's in it a lot of times. I mean, now that Hollywood itself is sort of struggling at times to produce the content and the amount of hours of content that it used to create, a lot of big-time names are going into the indie circuit. And so you've got Kevin Bacon doing an independent film, and you've got other big names like that doing that. And I'm starting to see all of these movies and these shorts and even these podcasts, audio fiction podcasts popping up in festivals with names that you never would have seen 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so I think more than anything, the thing that's holding a lot of people back now is that a lot of film festivals want to have a big name attached to a movie that they're bringing in or a project that they're bringing in. When you're an independent filmmaker like me, who's the biggest name is probably me because I was in The Chair Company on HBO. That's about all that. Film festivals aren't looking for that necessarily. They're looking for the A-list names and all that. So I guess it's not so much from my experience the first 5 minutes as it is film festivals are starting to look more at who's in it and what names are attached to it that they can then highlight in their marketing and everything.
Friend of the show, Luke Higginson, is here. Folks will remember him from his episode on the film Relax, I Am from the Future, which he also happened to write, direct, and edit, and also our episodes on Akira and What We Do in the Shadows. Luke, you had a big name star. Rhys Darby was in your film, but you still struggled to get into an American film festival, and you ended up having to go to Toronto in the TIFF festival with it, which worked out great for you. Tell us your story about trying to get your film into an American festival.
Well, actually, TIFF, the short film that I made prior to the feature is the one that played at TIFF, and that did not have Rhys Darby in it. That was literally just me and some friends shooting something, and that played TIFF in 2013. The feature that starred Rhys actually did not even get into TIFF, despite the short film having played TIFF, and despite us, having the great Rhys Darby in our lead. We ended up premiering at Fantasia in Montreal, which, in my opinion, is an even better festival.
But you would say that, wouldn't you?
I would. I sure would. The short film that I made got into TIFF, which is largely considered one of the sort of the big ones, one of the ones that you most want to get into. And it was a bit of a blow when the feature version was not accepted initially. But the experience of premiering at Fantasia, which is, also a great festival and sort of significant, the difference in a festival that cares about the films that don't automatically bolster its reputation is often more valuable than a festival that has a more prestigious sort of pedigree or name, if that makes any sense. The sort of support that we got from that festival was incredible and really launched the film, and really, I think much of the success we had was a result of the curators and the programmers, specifically Carolyn Morissette at Fantasia, and just sort of believing in the movie and championing it, being really sort of filmmaker friendly. versus sort of my experiences at TIFF with my short, which was very much sort of you're lucky to be here kind of vibe. That makes a difference, and it's something to consider when you're applying to festivals.
How many festivals did you apply to?
For the short or for the feature?
Yeah, give us both numbers, because you had to pay for each one of those, didn't you?
I sure did. Well, there are some free ones, but no, I think we probably, with the feature, probably applied to probably like 20, I'd say. And for the short, we applied to like over 100.
Well, that's about what, $3,000, $4,000?
Well, I applied to every free festival that I could.
Oh.
We definitely cracked $1,000 for the feature. For the short, it was several hundred.
Having Rhys Darby as your featured actor was the glow of Rhys Darby was not enough to have the festivals coming to you.
I think you have to be very high up in the stratosphere for festivals to come to you. I think you have to be extremely well established for that to be the case.
Well, Rhys Darby is that in Erin's heart.
Rhys is a star. I am not.
He's my favorite.
You are a star on world cinema history, Luke.
I think the film festival circuit is invaluable. I think queer film festivals are so important right now, especially in this time when so many of our voices are people are trying to make us invisible and trying to take away our rights. I think queer film festivals are so important right now just to tell our stories and also to say we're still here and we're not going anywhere. I mean, the stories that we tell at our festival are smaller stories than you might see at a mainstream festival, but they're just as important. And, festivals are so important for community and for queer festivals to continue telling stories and honoring filmmakers and finding new voices. That is just so vital right now. And I'm so glad of the people who work in this industry and that we get to work together and really highlight our community and also try to enhance the work of filmmakers.
I think you've done a great job at that over the years, Jim. I mean, you've given years and years to this.
Well, thank you.
And your festival, you managed to get it both BAFTA qualified and Oscar qualified, right?
We're very honored. We became BAFTA qualifying last year, and in 2020 we became an Oscar qualifying film festival, and that was such an honor for us, but also more importantly for our filmmakers, because the filmmakers who we have a jury. The film that wins our jury award for best drama short qualifies for Oscar consideration. And it just opens up so many doors for filmmakers to get more eyes on their films and to get them seen. In 2020, we became Oscar qualifying. Last year, the film that qualified through Idol Film, Two People Exchanging Saliva, actually made the short list for the live action short, then was nominated, and then we were so honored that film actually won the Oscar this year. It co-won the Oscar for a best live action short, and such an honor to work with those filmmakers and to see them attain this success. And they have always said that film festivals are so vital to them and to what they do, and they are so thankful to the work that all of us do. So I'm just really proud of being in this industry and the work that we do to really showcase films and showcase these films that might not otherwise have the opportunity to get seen.
Now, a follow-up question, Jim. So Susan's Film Festival had about 1,400 entries for about 100 slots. What are the percentages for your film festival? Obviously, you've opened up also because you've got an online presence as well for the festival. But how many entries and how many films actually get shown at your festival?
Last year, we had close to 1,000 direct submissions on Film Freeway. That doesn't include like distributor films or films we saw at festivals. Last year, we showed 154 films. We show about 40 features and documentaries, and then about 110 short films. So, I mean, we generally look at about 1,200 films a year, and then are able to showcase just over 150.
Susan, do I have my numbers right?
Yeah, actually show closer to about 170 to 180 when you include like a student filmmaker and young filmmaker. Submissions is correct. So it's what, 10%?
I do know firsthand that like our friend at Outfilm Connecticut, Shane Engstrom, he watches personally all the way through 800 plus films a year as part of their curation process, right? It's a huge commitment of time that the
Yes.
curating teams and directors are putting in.
And how many people watch your films for submission, Susan? Is it about 100?
Yeah, there's we have 3 teams, and each team has somewhere between 25 to 30 people on it. But so after I've watched them first, then I send them on, the ones that are going on to a team. And then on whatever team it goes to, that team has to have at least 10 people from the team review the film and score it.
What are the 3 things that you look for, first of all, when you're screening a film for a potential entry?
First of all, it has to be appealing to me. Is the story keeping my attention? Am I interested in it, interested in the characters? Acting is a huge thing for me. I don't care if your budget's $5 for a short, but at least find some friends that can really act, because that one bad actor can totally throw off a project for me. And then, of course, sound is super important. I've got to be able to hear what you're saying. And so those are kind of main things I kind of go for. There are obviously others too, but
especially
those would be 3 that can impact me the most.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Krissy, mahan, a very big issue for you, the outreach to people who may have mobility issues or for other reasons couldn't attend a film festival. Do you think it's a better landscape than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago?
I do think things are improving. I also know that it's federal law that things are accessible, and I'm always shocked when festivals are held in places that aren't accessible, that don't have open captions, that don't have audio descriptions. So that's a question I'd love to hear from the festival directors here, like what their festivals are doing for accessibility.
That's a great question. We do make sure all the venues have access. We've got a lot of volunteers that are wheelchair bound, and one of them is really great about coming to me and say, okay, no, this is not accessible. And she really helps me lay out, and where's the elevator? How do we get to this venue or this screening room? Our independent theater house, Phoenix, they have other accessibility. We do not. It is a great question, and something actually that we're working on, how we can adapt some other things too for the hearing impaired as well. So those are things we're working on. It's hard because we don't use all real theaters. And so we're just trying to work on that. So it's a great question. It's definitely something the board and I have been talking about to make more accessible.
I am hearing impaired. I do rely on captions for my hearing impairment, for my ADHD, whatever. Our festival's focus is really reaching a global LGBTQIA plus queer rainbow of humanity and our allied community. English is not always everybody's first language. But at least I've made it a requirement, and I'm using giant air quotes that you can't see, that all of the films that come to my festival are captioned. I have run films without captions to the end that I try to caption them or get them captioned. I pay for captions. I will pay my filmmakers and give them the money to have somebody caption them, or I do it or have a service caption them. But I run out of time. It's a lot of films, and my festival team is there's 2 of us, and sometimes a 1 or 1.5 or 2 volunteers. So I do run out of time in that, but I try my best to keep up with that. My colleague here, krissy mahan, has gotten on board to try to help me with that and help improve my level of captioning. I also care about the accessibility in that I think the way I run my festival is unique in that I'm reaching people around the globe, literally in time zones where they can get here. I mean, by being on over 20 straight hours once a week during the festival, and often more than that, I can have a premiere or a event at what would be premium 7 p.m. in Oceania, so in Australia or that part of the world, in Europe. And I've had films that have premiered in that, or I've had a industry panel in those time zones to reach people with immune issues, with movement issues, with financial issues in getting to a festival. There are costs associated with getting to and attending a festival, with kids, with various work shift hours. I do my best to make sure there is a time when there is a live, interactive festival event happening all through the festival for anybody that has those restrictions. So I feel pretty good about that. I know that some of my filmmakers here, and I hope they get to speak about it, have attended and participated in that. And includes, networking the film lovers and the filmmakers. We've had people meet from across the globe that are collaborating on other projects, that kind of thing. We are nowhere near where we need to be. We need to be better. We've got a long way to go, but Krissy and I are pretty determined about that. At Cinema Sisters this year, Laura Petrie is allowing us Krissy, mahan, and myself to give a workshop on accessibility is for everybody to work on conscious, clear communication and discussion about how filmmakers from concept in their mind, pre-production, all the way through production, can make their films more accessible. If you haven't made your work available for everybody, right? If you don't have captions or subtitles or audio description for the blind, you are leaving behind a huge percentage of the planet from your work.
For accessibility, about 3 years ago, we started asking that all our films be captioned in English, to support our hearing impaired attendees. We always make sure that all venues are accessible. And as Jennifer mentioned, Krissy and Jennifer, who are in this podcast, are giving the Accessibility is for Everybody workshop this year. So that's a new addition we look forward to.
Joshua, is there anything in terms of accessibility that people of size are more concerned with than something we may not have thought of?
I think that's very much a thing, actually. There's not a lot of thought put into, I guess, for lack of a better word, furniture. I guess that's the word we'll use, furniture. Often in a lot of film festivals, a lot of times it's plastic chairs in a conference room kind of thing, and the chairs themselves are not accommodating to people of larger sizes. A lot of times when film festivals will give out merchandise like shirts especially shirts, there's no thought put into sizes above 2XL. So there's a lot of things that should be put into in terms of making people of size feel included in the film festival experience when you're bringing in filmmakers to the film festival.
Issue number 2. Have festivals become the unpaid R&D department for the streaming giants? We scout, they reap. But the irony is, even these giants are struggling. If the streamers are losing money and the filmmakers are getting paid pennies, where is that money actually going? Susan, I believe you were named one of the 25 coolest film festivals recently. But how were you able to stay so cool?
I mean, ultimately, filmmakers want to get their films on a streaming platform. They know sometimes they make money off it, sometimes they don't. We don't. Like, some distributors do come to our festival. I mean, we're probably not one of those that they really want to come to Iowa. I mean, I would like to build it so that as you come a filmmaker, you do have that opportunity to sell your film or create a deal at the festival. I mean, that's a great opportunity as well. I think it's up to the filmmaker to really check their contracts, maybe ask around, find out if the deal that they're doing with the streamer or distributor, is a good deal for them. And I think sometimes when they're newer, they're just not sure and they're more excited about, hey, I got a deal. It's going to be on a show. And you also want to make sure you've got some benefit from it, because ultimately you love to get your money back on the project you just created. I think for us, it is more important to me that filmmakers are coming and creating relationships and I'm showing films. I loved what I think it was Jim said earlier, that you've all been saying. Film festivals, or whether you're online or in person, is an opportunity for community and for somebody to see something may not necessarily see or want to see anywhere else, or you may not think about it, but yet at a film festival, because a lot of people are going and the filmmakers there, you're going to go see either foreign films or, in some of these cases, a wonderful relationship in the LGBT community as well. You may not necessarily watch that or pick that off of a streaming platform, but you would go see it at the festival and you realize how beautiful all these films are. So I think there's so many other reasons for film festivals, and it's not just about selling. It's just a top of the cake, I guess.
Jim, I wanted to give you a shout out that I am totally impressed. I work very hard to connect as many people as I can. In the last 2 years previous, I don't know that you're doing it this year, Jim literally interviewed every single filmmaker, every single film, and got an interview with them, a Q&A with them up online and available, which was amazing for me. Again, not being at the festival in the lobby, but at home getting to watch the Q&As and then watch the films was, thanks, Jim. Amazing. I try to give my filmmakers a chance to do an intro and outro and their own Q&As for all of their films. I'm like, imagine you have a microphone, you're on the stage by yourself at your festival, say what you want to say, and those run on the festival that runs 24/7 for the people that are at home. And then during our interactive events, our watch parties, the filmmaker often comes in, we get to meet, connect there, and then we still watch their intro, their outro, the film, their Q&As. So it really, I'm trying to maximize exactly what you said, that impact of the filmmakers and the film lovers around the world, and sparking energy, like getting people to connect with the filmmakers they love and keep amplifying and supporting their work. I would say that everyone, you need to rate films. I'll say this over and over, rate them, purchase them when you can legally, review them. Those things are invaluable for filmmakers. All of us here that are parts of film festivals and filmmakers care about this world. I mean, everybody here on this podcast is doing what they can to advance a variety of stories on screen, getting to people all over the world. And that energy that you were talking about, Susan, I agree. It's electric. And I love that. And Jim loves it. You know, the being around people who want to talk about film, seeing films that you might not have seen, armchair traveling through a film.
My next question is, how do we get these artists paid? Every filmmaker that I've had on this podcast does it part-time because you can't pay the bills as an independent filmmaker. How do we change that? When they do get these streaming deals, a film that maybe cost them $200,000 to make will maybe make them $2,000 because it is a buyer's market right now for the streamers.
Because I've also done some producing for small indie. But I think the first thing when you're looking, what I tell the investors are that don't, obviously the ultimate goal is to sell it and make your money back, but let's look at it as a loss for you as well, and you can get the loss on your taxes for the year. So in a way, it's still a win for them if you're not doing like the GoFundMes, or if you're not doing that way, if you're going directly to people that that have money. And then that way there's not an expectation as, I'm going to make money and I'm going to, get all my money back and make a percentage. I think you have to go, and that's the ultimate goal. But maybe we just get it out there and people get to see this wonderful project you did and that you worked really hard on. You get it out there. And if you don't make money on it, then you take the loss.
I mean, I think it's a win if you're amplifying a story you care about on screen, right? If you really are passionate about the story. And I will repeat what I said, like, to tell anyone that's listening, get your movies from a legal source, pay for them when you can, rate them, review them, share them, celebrate them, amplify them. Don't decide what audience may or may not watch a film or support a film in fundraising. Being able to help filmmakers with their fundraising and amplifying their projects and being willing to put them out there in front of other eyes and expanding our echo chambers. Like my audience is Joshua's audience, is Jim's audience. The more we don't have a scarcity mindset and understand that a rising tide lifts all boats, hopefully we'll expand visibility on these films and the chance for investment and the chance for pickups. Another weird thing that I do, but that's weird and unique to me, is that I really want to try to not have, for my festival, it's lined up differently in the market, right? I am visible, I am virtual. I try not to charge filmmakers to submit, and qualified and participating filmmakers will, share in revenue from ticket sales at the festival. So, I mean, I maybe get them a cup of coffee if I'm lucky, but that's sort of the model that I'm trying to work on, and then trying to give as much connection among the filmmakers and the film lovers, and as much amplification and celebration and elevation of the films as I can.
Is the obsession with premieres and being a certified film festival hampering some of these filmmakers? It's an old story. Someone's film premieres at the wrong festival with the wrong crowd, and it's no longer a premiere. And then by the time they get it back into the circuit, now it's too old, and nobody's interested in the film anymore. Is this something that the film festival circuit needs to correct? Or is having a premiere still such a prestigious thing that is something that you have to strive for in every festival?
That is such a difficult question, because at the end of the day, I think the only people, I'm not going to say the only people, but, world premieres, audiences aren't going to not see a film at your festival because it world premiered somewhere else. They're not. If they want to see it, they're going to. World premieres are important because, there's splash involved and hype, press attention. In the film festival world, yeah, we like to have world premieres because they sort of bring more attention to the film, and it's great to sort of go that we had the film first, but at the end of the day, we're all just doing our own work. We want to work with our filmmakers to get their film seen, whether it's first, 31st, we want our audience to see them. So yeah, but world premieres are important, but we do spend too much time obsessing over them. because, it's not that big of a deal. Films will be seen by an audience, and the audience doesn't care, again, what place it is, where it is. They just want to see good films.
Here's how it affects on, as an ED of a film festival. I could have some new films that are just coming out that are going to have their world premiere with us, and then they find out another festival that they really want to get into told them, well, you have to be a world premiere here, or you can't get in. In one particular person this year, he pulled out his film, said, well, I really need this bigger one. I said, I totally understand, I get it. We're at that level that, you want to go to this other bigger company, a bigger festival. And as it was, then when it came down to it, he didn't get in the other festival. And so he's calling me back and asked me, oh, can I get back in? And at that point, you've already scheduled and I can't do that. It's frustrating as an ED when that happens. I mean, I get it. I don't ask for world or US. It's nice, especially with international films. If you are a North American premiere or a US premiere, those are always really nice to be able to show that with your audience. And I do see a little increase in attendance when it's a world premiere for a feature or a doc. Shorts, not so much because it's in a block of shorts. So, that doesn't hit as much. But I do require an Iowa premiere. And that is specifically because there are over 17 film festivals in the state of Iowa. And we are the largest, and we put a lot of money into marketing and promotion and to make sure we get people there. If I have a film that's already been in all 17 other festivals in Iowa, people are less likely to come and give me an audience. And so I want to be that first one in Iowa. So that's something I got a little stricter about the last couple of years. As a producer, yeah, I would find that, I don't know, I don't get hung up on the world premiere status, because if you're waiting for that, what if, like that happened to another filmmaker, all of a sudden you don't get into that festival? Now you've missed out on other ones that you really wanted to be at. So that kind of stuff, it's not going to help sell your film, and it's not going to make it this big leader in all the films. So, I feel like, why don't you premiere at the one that you really want to go to and be at it?
I can relate. Atlanta has 32,000 film festivals, and we all respect each other, but at the end of the day, we have to do our own thing. It's not uncommon for films to premiere at the Atlanta Film Festival, which is happening right now, and then want to also, screen at our festival in September. It puts us in a really awkward position, because why would we show a film again if you've already screened it here? But we have to think, but we do have a different audience. But it does kind of put an awkward situation, because a lot of people see it at the Atlanta Film Festival. Would you waste that spot on something that's already played here, or give it to a spot that for something that hasn't? What I wanted to mention about world premiere, that's such a touchy subject with me and a bunch of other people. I was at Berlin earlier this year, and there's a really great pitch competition near the end where people come out and pitch their films. And the people who are there, it's such a great time to meet filmmakers and see what people are pitching. And I'll never forget, someone was up there pitching a film that they produced, and they said, well, we want to have our world premiere at, a major film festival. And then, when it's done, we'll do the LGBTQs. It's like, that just, to me, just felt so disingenuous. It's like, you want to do major festivals, and the LGBTQs are sort of the sub-festivals. That just kind of automatically turned my stomach when I heard someone say that. Because, we're all listen, there are festivals that are so-called major festivals, but at the end of the day, we're all doing our own thing and trying to do good work and do this. God knows none of us do this for money. We just do this because we're passionate about it, and we want to show films and reach an audience.
Well, we have had several world premieres because, in all honesty, lesbians are acutely underrepresented in all aspects of the film industry. A lot of these women can't get their films shown at other, even LGBTQ film festivals. That's why I started this festival, Cinema Sisters, to give my sisters a dedicated place to show their art. We are a one-of-a-kind and a super unique festival. I consider us a women's cultural and arts festival, not just a film festival, because we have screenings, but we have workshops and Q&As, catered parties, and spoken word and live lesbian music, and meet and greets, and Sunday brunch, and sisterhood. So representation to me in film and media, it really matters. I mean, we've had tropes and queer coding for years, and folks that are gay have to be victims or villains or stereotypes. Women have to die or get married or live a sad, lonely life. So when women come to our festival in Western Kentucky, they get to sit in a dark theater and laugh and sigh and cry together and have sheer joy, really, at just seeing and sharing our stories, because we don't see them very often. And when we do, they're oftentimes, making us look sad, lonely, or a villain. Dr. Marie Cartier, she's a professor of screenwriting and women and gender studies at California Northridge, and she's a repeat workshop presenter for us at Cinema Sisters. She had this to say. She said, whether you're here for some deep discussion, a mellow glass of wine, watch comedies and laugh, or watch dramas and cry, some downtime or a party event every night, we have the events for you. And that's what we try to do, is just be a well-rounded weekend of love and acceptance. And when you come to Cinema Sisters, you feel that at the very first event, that sisterhood and that acceptance. And that's so important to our attendees.
Huzzah, I agree. I've been there, and I can vouch for that.
There does seem to be a bit of class and snobbery going on in the festival circuit. I do understand that Cannes and Venice and Berlin are always going to have their chic, and Sundance is going to have its chic, but Sundance has moved to AI moderating because even Sundance can't handle the number of submissions that they're getting anymore. My question goes back to, how do we get these people paid? Now, I understand there's always a push for more state subsidies to kind of save the circuit, but I think you would agree with me that's a kind of a golden handcuff. If the state becomes the primary benefactor, doesn't the filmmaker lose his right to be truly transgressive? I mean, are we trading the algorithm of the streamer for the censorship of the state if we allow state financing?
I guess kind of roundabout way of thinking about that question is, what is the role of the arts at this moment? There are many genocides happening right now. I'm thinking of in Palestine in particular. I'm thinking of climate collapse. I'm thinking of journalists being targeted for assassination. I'm thinking of hospitals being bombed. So what is the role of the creative community? Like, what is the film community doing at this moment? Like, I personally don't want to be Leni Riefenstahl. If this world is the way that it is, why would I want to be a superstar in that? And I think that, we've had this conversation to this point without talking about what are we doing. And I think that as, film festivals are gatekeepers, and, they're keeping the gate open or they're closing the gate, right? But there is, as we're talking about, there is a way of getting in or out, at least as far as like the festivals, which is what our conversation is. I hope that there's many more conversations about like, what is the role of the creative community at this time? Because I am longing for and searching for film community where people are thinking of addressing the problem. I'm glad that I'll be going to Cinema Sisters next month. I think that accessibility is is a way that I'm thinking about the future and, expanding the arts. I mean, these mass disabling events that are happening in the world. But I mean, that's the question that I would have. It's not so much as like, oh, how can I come up with money to pay an entry fee? But more the question of like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing like, in this moment? Like, I don't want to be 1939 Germany, right? Like,
Preach.
What are we doing?
I totally agree. We have a duty as creatives to do what we can, to change minds as we can. On my YouTube channel, I've got some protest videos that I just edited together, news footage and music, and it's just up there for free because it's not about the money. If you're trying to make a point, if you're trying to change minds and educate people, yeah, it's got to be about get your work out there where people can see it. I have a tattoo that we actually featured as cover art for one of our episodes of a film camera that says "This machine kills fascists" underneath it. because that's what we have to do. We have to get out there and put our work out there and do whatever we can, even if we're not making any money. I can't speak for the people who make film festivals because that's not my field of expertise, but as an artist, we got to get out there and do the thing and fight in whatever way we can.
I mean, art is resistance, and I think it's important to make films that have messages. And also, I think art is resistance in the fact that in film festivals are a way to gather community together, to have moments of radical joy, queer joy for film festivals. But, you know, we are fighting every day. Queer humans for sure, rainbow of humanity for sure, but everybody in this world is facing crises, as Krissy pointed out. And having a moment where we are together, wrapped up in a story, being willing to look at something through someone else's eyes, to laugh together, to cry together, to realize that we are connected as a human race. Like, I can't remember her name, the astronaut that was just up, like, was your team planet Earth. Like, we're all human beings on this same team, and having a moment of connectedness like that, or understanding or empathy, is huge. And then also having a moment to disconnect from the struggles, from the worry, from the fear, from the overwhelm, and have that also be radical joy is really important. All of those things are important.
Let's narrow it down. If you're making a genre film even, so let's forget politics, forget the protest, you're making a straight-up horror film. You put it out on a streamer and it ends up on Tubi or something like that, and you're getting a penny a view. You are either paying your crew out of your own pocket, or like Erin, buying them pizza. That's thus the name of her studio, Pizza Horse Productions. You're not making a dime out of it, and then you are like Sam Rogers having to work a full-time job and film. To me, it reminds me of France, you know, in the 1800s, where you had these painters who were also cabbies and things like that. And why do they paint? Because they paint. Why are they making films? Because they make films. So what keeps you going, Joshua?
Up until this year, I had a day job for 21 years, and then this year, among many other people, corporate America decided to revisit that concept of me having a day job. I was entirely funding all my films through that, and now I am not. What I decided to do though is embrace the concept of seeing what it's like to be a freelance filmmaker and try that out and see what's going on. So I relied on a day job to fund and pay for everything with filmmaking, and now I don't have that, and I'm going to try a new approach and see if I can make that work. But it's not an easy thing, and most people I know aren't able to do that. Most people I know have 1, 2, 3 jobs, and that's how they make the art that they want. And you're right, it's very much so. It's an expensive, and I don't think it's even a hobby for people. I think it's an expensive job to have. You have to pay
like
to have it,
Almost like film festival people for the most part. Joshua, what inspires you to do what you do, and what keeps you going doing what you do? I think that was part of Eric's question that I would love to hear.
Well, for me, I'm really, really passionate about telling stories, and I can't ever imagine doing anything else in my life. This was as a child what I dreamed about doing, as an adult what I dreamed about doing. I love acting, I love writing, I love putting stories out there and sharing them with the world. And then for me, especially, it's really important to tell stories which I don't see represented in other places. I mean, there really are not any other queer, fat, positive production companies, maybe in the world, that do what I try to do, which is tell stories centered on queer, fat voices. And primarily they're also horror-based, which adds another extra layer of issue to it. People want to see these things because I know that they do, because when they watch them, they say, thank you so much for making something, or thank you so much for putting me on screen because I did not see me up there until you made a movie about it. I'm thrilled that I'm able to do that, and that's one of the reasons I will always continue to do that, I think.
I'm grateful for that lens you bring, and that you don't kink shame either. So thank you, Joshua.
The word amateur, if I have my etymology correct, comes from the Latin amare, to love. We do this because we love it.
Any final thoughts on the film festival circuit and how it can be improved?
Let's include lesbians' point of view. How about that? Cinema Sisters was a grassroots movement, really. I believe that lesbians can save the world. I've lived in women's space at festivals and as a worker at women's festivals and lesbian festivals, and there's just a sensibility about women, especially lesbians, that I believe can change the way this world operates if we would just give them a voice. So platforming young and emerging sapphic artists is in our DNA. I grew up as a tomboy in Western Kentucky, riding horses and playing basketball and driving tractors, and I have a can-do attitude. So that's why Cinema Sisters exists, is to just rise the lesbian voice, and LGBTQ voices are also very important. Women's voices are important. Sorry, Eric, but the straight white male perspective
You don't want any more Mel Gibson
overused. We're
movies?
done. Let's get some other people out there sharing their stories.
I am that human that, wants everybody's stories, and I've enjoyed many a Bond film and other things in my life and hope to continue to. The issue is it has been, as you've heard me say, from my angry lesbian feminist perspective, it is the most powerful voice we've had everywhere, but especially in media. It has controlled the narrative, and it even tells the female stories through not just the male gaze, but a male authorship.
Yeah, no more Mel Gibson, please.
It was so funny. Someone was saying, I didn't realize how much I didn't like women in films. And then one day I had the moment of realizing when they were in a writing room that it's because men were writing these women. Shocker. Huh.
We're doing this for love, and I think that's wonderful. And we do have the ability to change the world if we keep just plugging along and doing what we need to, and that's artists and festivals together.
So I believe that there could be a world worth fighting for. I'm glad to be an artist working for this world that I dream of, where we can all survive. And I welcome any opportunities where people of goodwill, bring their creative spirit to creating experiences collectively where we can make the world that we could have happen. I love film. I love film. Film festivals are a way to promote and gather as filmmakers and as people who love film.
I have been at many film festivals over the years, and I have to say that they are incredibly invaluable to the filmmaker's experience. I think that the most beneficial thing, though, is when the people putting on the film festival are focused on making sure that they're invaluable to the filmmaker and giving them opportunities for networking and connecting and meeting and promoting, and also giving useful and practical panels when they do panels and all. And also making sure that they have a wonderful array of diverse voices represented in the films selected. So I love film festivals. I will always submit to them. I'm grateful to them. I think that some film festivals need to do more to combat the idea of being a moneymaker, a business. As a filmmaker, I'm telling you that many people look at film festivals as places which have that attitude. So I would suggest that some film festivals look at what they're doing that makes filmmakers think, oh, we're here for your money, not for anything else. Because that's sort of something to think about, I think. Otherwise, film festivals are invaluable tools, and they are so necessary, especially for the indie filmmaker. Most of the people that I know are. So I am grateful to film festivals, and I look forward to attending more, hopefully, getting them out there. And I encourage film festivals to broaden what they consider to be necessary voices.
For me, it's two words: arts funding. It sounds like we're all in various parts of the country. Here in Georgia, we have the worst arts funding in the country. I would love to find a scenario where the work that we do here in Georgia and around the world and around the country was embraced more by the corporate world, the business community. Because, again, what we do is so valuable. The communities that we serve, the chances we take on filmmakers, and just bringing the community together is so important. And I just hope that we all can continue to do this and embrace and unite. That is something that makes me very optimistic.
Susan, we're giving you the final word on the film festival circuit.
I think film festivals are a great place to meet other creatives. They're a great way to share your film with a community and other creatives, a great way to collaborate with others. And I would suggest people research where you're submitting. Don't just do submit to everything. Take the time to really check out those festivals that you're looking to hopefully get into to make sure it fits your project, fits what you're hoping for. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's those top big ones, the top 5. It could be these mid-tier or specific festivals that will be the best place for you to be and to accomplish other things other than just showing a film. And I think people should always consider doing the festival route. It's also good for the soul, right? You meet other people that are happy and creative like you, and there's something about it. Spending time with other creatives and people that are enjoying what you created.
Good night, and thank you for listening to World Cinema History.